talk finance, what comes to mind is basically the banking sector. But agricultural management also has strategic financing in it. This week's edition of the program will take us to managerial and financing level of agriculture, and to do justice to that topic is an economist in the studio with us in the person of Mr. Idakolo Bolade. Welcome to the studio, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, like I said, when you talk financing, everybody's mind travels through the banking, it's just basically they just believe it doesn't have this link with agriculture. What do you think? What's the link between financing, management, and agriculture?
Definitely, agriculture has evolved over time from subsistence farming to commercial agriculture. And if you have to do anything commercial, you have to have basic management principles and financing capacity to go with it. So agriculture, as it's evolving over time, has gotten to a stage where it has become a mega source of income for countries and organizations. So that is where management and finance comes in. And an agricultural company or a nation that is handling agriculture as its main subsistence needs to manage it very well and must ensure that source of financing is adequate to be able to benefit.
Okay, looking at the management, in fact, it's a key word in all of this. The management of agriculture, let me break it down to an ordinary farmer.
Okay.
How does the farm management work? Because some farm just believe that it is just me go to the farm, if I make my produce, if I harvest, it's just me, But some people don't know that there's more to farming than what it is.
There is more to farming than, just like I said, subsistence agriculture has evolved over time. Farming nowadays has a lot to do with seedlings. It has a lot to do with agricultural inputs, like mechanization of agriculture, the farm implements that is being used. It has to do with seasonal planning. It also has to do with technological know-how to be able to know the kind of seed to plant at the same time. And also, it has also evolved beyond just harvesting the agricultural produce. It has gone to the level of processing. So when it gets to processing, we are talking about using the agricultural produce to process to something that will be of more value and that will last longer. So when we talk of agricultural planning or management, it has evolved over time to ensure that all these parameters are in place, to ensure that products move from one level to the other and we are able to achieve.
Okay, so going back to financing of agriculture, what's the benefits? We hear of different poverty alleviation programs the federal government came up with. We have the agro empowerment scheme, we have the MPA and all of that. There are so many loans given microfinance banks in the country now. Of what benefit is this to farmers?
Actually, some of these government policies are targeted at farmers. And what it does is that it comes in two folds. We see state government and federal government trying to subsidize agriculture by providing fertilizers and other agricultural inputs. And financing is very key to be able to purchase adequate fertilizers, for example, adequate improved seedlings, for example, and also to be able to have enough manpower and equipment to be able to carry out this agricultural task. So government intervention in agriculture as regards financing, when you look at what CBN is doing and previous governments as NAPEP and the others, and presently Anchor Borrower programs, is to be able to finance agriculture to a level where it will become commercial and it will be able to sustain the country as regards food production and other ancillary products.
Okay, so telling farmers at home, what are the different types of agricultural financing? What different ways can they finance agriculture?
Yes, farmers at home over time have moved forward from agri credits in the area of agri cooperative, that is farmers coming together and they're pooling resources together to fund their businesses. We have seen over time that it's not adequate for large-scale farming that the government is envisaging. So we have discovered that approaching commercial banks have not really favored the farmers and microfinance banks, in the sense that most of the commercial banks in Nigeria deal with short-term funding, and agriculture involves long-term funding. A commercial bank in Nigeria cannot give you facilities for more than 3, 4, 5 years. But when we are talking of real agriculture that has to be on a large scale, we should be talking about loan facilities that are going to evolve over 10, 15 to 20 years.
Wow.
The second aspect of it is the funding cost. To the farmer, we know that the profit margin is very thin. So the farmer must be able to have interest rates at single digits, processing fees at lower amounts to be able to break even at all. And that is what the banks cannot do presently. So the CBN intervened, and if you see over the past 5 years, CBN has created an Agric scheme of 500 billion given to banks at single digit interest rate to be able to give to farmers, to be able to, for those that are going large scale. But that also has a challenge, because for every loan that is given out in banking, for example, has to be collateralized. And we know the problems with land, legality of land and usage for collateral. So the farmers are finding it difficult in that area. So most of them have not been able to qualify for this large-scale funding that will help the farming business. So they resort to agric cooperatives, they resort to individual lenders, they resort to microfinance lending that is not adequate for them and is at a higher cost.
Okay, I was to come to the difficulties therein in acquiring all of this loan, because just a week ago we had heads of research councils had a retreat in Abuja, and most stakeholders in the meeting were pointing towards the financing of agriculture. And then when we looked at it, some of them gave options of having them on TET fund and other government programs. Looking at a small scale farmer, for example, what if we know that most times, if not until recently, farmers in Nigeria are predominantly, let me use the word, illiterate. How else do you think government can go about this loan thing that it will make it easier for everyone?
Really, the federal government in the area of intervention in agriculture has been trying. There has been so many corruption in the process in the past as regards fertilizer distribution and pricing, and comes to loans that are given out, the repayment capacity of the farmers, and natural disasters that has caused problems. But we still have a major problem with financing. But one thing I want to point out is that the government alone cannot single-handedly finance agriculture in Nigeria. If you look at National Agriculture Bank, for example, it has a capitalization of 50 billion, and it's not even adequately capitalized up to that amount. And the shareholders is the federal government and the Central Bank of Nigeria. So we'll see that 50 billion cannot enlarge the cost of agriculture in Nigeria. So the federal government needs to look at foreign intervention, private intervention into agriculture, as is done in other climes. That is where big venture capitals will come in to be able to provide the needed capital for agriculture. And it is not only cash-based. What we are talking about, the major areas of that agriculture needs in Nigeria is agricultural input and technological know-how. If we can get these two right, then it will help agriculture in Nigeria. A country like Israel, for example, is very small. They don't have the population that Nigeria has, but they are advanced in agriculture because of these two issues: technical know-how and the agricultural input that is being put in place. You see a country that is growing crops in the desert. Nigeria has not gotten to that level yet. So the government should partner with private institutions and venture capitalists to intervene in agriculture. But they are not going to come if there is no enabling policies from the government to be able to ensure that their funds are safe, it can be repatriated when they want it, and 3, there is a benefit for them as well. So all this has to be streamlined, and government needs to take a back seat and allow these venture capitalists and private organizations to be fully involved in agriculture by just providing the enabling environment for them, as is done in other crimes. The richest people in the world today, some of them are in agriculture in the United States. And all the government does is to provide favorable policies and ensure that they do their business.
Right. Okay, yes, we've heard it. Having a favorable law in place, policies that will aid the agricultural sector, is this one thing that will bring private individuals into into the sector to make it grow to the way we want. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll continue. The program is still Agric Economy. Stay tuned. It's still the program Agric Economy, and our guest is still seated with us in the studio. We have an economist who is in person of Mr. Bolade Idakulo. For the benefit of those just joining us, the topic is agricultural management and finance, and we've been talking. He's been, shedding more light on what we can do in ensuring that agricultural management and financing push the sector to where everyone wants it to be. And then, going back to where we dropped it, federal government bringing in policies to ensuring that, the private sectors coming. Like, I spoke to 1 or 2 persons, and then I was like, you invest in oil, you invest in every other, why not agriculture? Why is nobody looking at the food sustenance in Nigeria? And they're like, if we put our money, what do we get? The policies are not there. I'll be chasing one farmer up and down and all of that. So in this policy, what's your word for intending investors?
Yes, the government should ensure that there is adequate credit guarantees for investors in agriculture. The second aspect of it is agric insurance. We know that natural disasters prevail. We know that there could be, just like we have farmer headers crisis, we know that even accidents could cause a major problem for farmers transporting their inputs to the markets. So the agric insurance sector needs to be adequately capitalized to be able to underwrite these risks that are inherent in agriculture. And they need basic policies from the government and adequate capitalization in that regard. In other climes, it's not only government that is involved or has established agric insurance companies. Private sectors who are involved. And when private sectors are involved, they bring out their technological know-how. They don't just insure this product alone. They also give advice based on experience. So the farmer gets not only the insurance, it also comes with advice on what to do to prevent a disaster. So the second aspect that I've just said is that when government is providing enabling policies, we should ensure that we have adequate agric insurance to underwrite policies on agriculture, which is making investors to be afraid. Because when they put their funds in, They want to be sure that if there are natural disasters or disasters of any kind, then they can recoup their funds from insurance. The third aspect of it is the legalization of land ownership in Nigeria. The policy needs to be adequately fine-tuned to the extent that a farmer that is requesting, for example, for a loan facility, or investors that are coming in into farming can be able to ensure that they have the right title to the land that is being used, and those titles can be used not only in Nigeria but abroad to secure capital into funding their investments in agriculture. So the other policy that is also a major problem in Nigeria now is security of farmland, which the government needs also to look into. We have seen the problems that farmers are facing with herders and other people encroaching on their farms. The government needs to come up with a strict policy to restrict businesses like the herders. They restrict them to ranches while the farmers can freely operate. And government needs to provide security. And you see the Nigerian government providing adequate security for oil firms. They provide security offshore and onshore to ensure that nothing happens to their products. The same needs to be done to agriculture, because I believe that agriculture is the future of Nigeria, for example, and the crude is going to dry up in a matter of 30 to 50 years. So agriculture also, Nigeria needs to ensure that agriculture not only sustains us, but is also expanded to enable our youth to be adequately employed.
Okay, yes, I was going to employment. We have over, I would say, 70% of Nigerians being youth, according to statistics. And then you see so many youths still queuing to wait for a white-collar job and all of that. Yeah. And then when you're being asked to be like, yeah, they are not trained to be a farmer, this and that. What do you think the government can do? We know the NYC gives room for you to learn, maybe if you want to be these one or two, handy things you want to learn despite being in the service here. But is there nothing you think government can do in making agriculture more viable, more attractive to the young ones now?
The most important aspect of it is government interest in enabling that youths go into agriculture. We have to have a sustained interest first. It is when we have a sustained interest that we can now carve out a policy that addresses it in a holistic manner. Now, if government is interested in the youth being adequately employed through agriculture, then we have to put measures in place to ensure that whether the youths are graduates, they are undergraduates, or they are not even going to school at all, there are various schemes that they can enter into and they will be trained. We know some states presently are training their youth in various aspects of business. Lagos State, for example, they have a Lagos State board that deals with whether you are doing tie and dye. They train youth whether you are graduate or not, and they give them certificates. And when they are giving certificates, they give them enablement to be able to start the trade. So the government needs to look at some of the policies that the states are doing as regards agriculture involving the youth, and now bring out a holistic approach that will encompass all that in the area of ensuring that there is no dichotomy in the youth that will be beneficiary of these schemes, in the sense that government cannot say it's only the graduates, whether AND or HND, that will benefit. It should be all Nigerian youths, all encompassing. It says that whether you are literate or not literate, there will be a scheme for you to go through. The government can now decide, okay, for illiterates, they will go through a 2-year scheme. For literate people that have gone to school, a 6-month scheme or a 1-year scheme. When that is done, we need training, because the major problem that makes youth not to go into agriculture is lack of training. And lack of training has to do with the fact that when you are not seeing the inherent benefit in something, you will not be interested in it. So government needs to start with adequate training for these youths. Let them see what they stand to benefit in every area of agriculture or in any one they want to go into, whether it's horticulture, whether it's fisheries, whether it's crop production or food processing. They need to know the inherent benefits. After that training has been done, government needs to create agricultural areas. Agricultural areas in the sense that a large portion of land can be, just like the government is creating free trade zones all over the country. There could be an agricultural area in each state that will be demarcated for specific types of farming, whether it's for fish farming or the rest. And the government will now, after these youths have been adequately trained, ensure that there is a take-off grant for them. Some states are doing it.
Yes, I think I've seen that of
Delta State is
Delta.
doing it. Lagos
Delta,
is doing it.
Lagos too.
You understand? The government should look into the policies that these states are using and come with a general policy that will make sure that if you cannot benefit from the state, you can benefit from the federal also. That is the third aspect of it. When they have been trained, there should be adequate land resources or for fishery and for processing to be created. Then the third aspect of it is to ensure that these products have access to the market. Because if the youths have been trained and they have gone into agriculture and there is no access to the market for their products to be sold, or they are selling below production cost, then they are going to lose interest. So government should create this, when these layers are adequately streamlined and thought out, there is no way youth will not embrace it. Every youth in Nigeria wants to grow. Every youth wants to look for a brighter future. It is not everyone that is going to benefit from white-collar jobs. So, and agriculture has the capacity to employ 50% of Nigerian youth within a span of 5 years, if the government is deliberate. And that is why I said the interests of the government should be in it.
Okay, yes, we've heard it. The interest of the government is one thing that is paramount. It is not just the management and financing now. The federal government should be deliberate in the sense that they should make agriculture attractive to both the young and the old. This way, the management and financing can come in, because if you don't have the interest, even if you get the finance, you can just do it anyhow, and the management, you won't be able to manage it properly. And then quickly, time is not really on our side. You talked about many risks, financial risk, and then I think I've been to 1 or 2 farms somewhere. The place is called in Kubwa area, a suburb in Abuja here. It's a very that's like 7 to 10 years ago. Then we have the man has a farm manager, and then the other farms beside him, they'll be like, why do you need a farm manager? Just quickly, let's use that to wrap it up. How the importance of having a manager in a farm?
Yes, in any business, you can never take away the importance of experience. Experience is very, very key. That is why people that are skilled and are trained in farm management are needed in a farm that wants to progress. For an investor in farming, you could know a bit about farming business or the type of agriculture you want to go into, but you need an expert skill to be able to manage the farm for you. Okay,
yes, that's where we draw the curtain on the program for this week. We've been talking to our guest in the studio, Mr. Idakolo. Thank you for joining us on the program this week. And then that's where we draw the curtain for the program. Join us again, same time, same station. Next week promises to be another educating and exciting one. Stay tuned. Catch ya. Bye.